His father was very strict with the kids, about when they could go out, when they had to be in, what they could wear. The girls weren't allowed to wear makeup, and he had very strong feelings against secular pop music.
Marvin Gaye, one of the greatest singers of all time, died 40 years ago. But now his family is finally confirming some terrible rumors. What really happened to him?
Get up, get up, get up, get up. Let's make love tonight. Wake up.
Were events in his life as shocking as we thought? What does his family have to say about it? Let's take a look at what's been revealed about Marvin Gaye's life and death.
When I was a child, I used to hear music. I longed for that to return to me.
Marvin Gaye was one of the greatest music legends ever. He had amazing talent from the start, but people truly realized how special he was later in his career. His songs did more than just entertain. They made people think, feel, and connect deeply. Marvin was born on April 2nd, 1939, in Washington, D.C. He grew up in a tough neighborhood called the Fairfax Apartments. The buildings there were old, falling apart, and didn't have basic things like electricity or running water. Marvin and his friends called it Simple City because it felt like a mix of city and country life.
But we had a religious father, so we couldn't we couldn't start fights. And there was no cussing.
Marvin's father, Marvin Gaye Sr., was a strict church minister. His mother, Alberta Gaye, worked as a domestic worker. Marvin was the second of 4 children. He had 2 sisters and a brother. Life at home was difficult. His father often punished him harshly, and Marvin said living with his dad was like living with a cruel king. But his mother was a source of comfort. She encouraged his singing and gave him hope when he needed it the most.
Marvin's family were quite different because his father belonged to this church called the House of God, which was a very strong emphasis on the Old Testament, and it was a mixture of sort of Christianity and Judaism in some ways.
Marvin Gaye's journey to becoming a music legend started when he was just 4 years old. He began singing in church where his father played the piano while Marvin sang. Even though the church had strict rules, Marvin loved music and quickly found happiness in singing. At the age of 11, Marvin performed Be My Love in a school play, and his voice amazed everyone. This moment made Marvin believe he could turn singing into a career.
And Marvin approached me and said, Mr. Fuqua, I love your group, and we can really sing.
Life at home wasn't easy, but Marvin found comfort in music. In school, he joined the Glee Club and became a star. Singing wasn't just a hobby for Marvin. It was his way of escaping the tough times he faced at home.
Marvin Sr. was getting invited to these preaching engagements because he would take along Marvin Jr. People liked Marvin Jr. and Marvin Jr. was getting attention. So I think there you get the seeds of jealousy beginning.
When Marvin entered the music world, he was ready to break free from his father's control. In the 1960s, his hits with Motown brought him fame and the chance to express himself freely. But even as he became a star, the pain from his past, especially his father's treatment, stayed with him. Marvin wasn't always the smooth singer people loved. He started out as a drummer, but his big hit, Stubborn Kind of Fellow, helped him rise in the music world.
Guess I'm just a stubborn kind of fella, got my mind made up.
He became one of Motown's biggest stars and worked with legends like Diana Ross. By 1973, Marvin was even producing his own music and playing every instrument. It was clear to everyone that Marvin Gaye was more than just a singer. He was changing the music game. Marvin Gaye is known for his incredible music, but his private life was filled with secrets, drama, and challenges. His first marriage was to Anna Gordy, who was the sister of Berry Gordy, the founder of Motown Records. Anna was much older than Marvin, and they had trouble having children. They eventually adopted a baby boy, Marvin III. However, the story behind the adoption was complicated. The child's biological mother was Denise Gordy, Anna's niece. Denise was only 16 when she gave birth, and it was later revealed in a book by Michael Eric Dyson that Marvin Gaye himself was the biological father of the child. This was shocking because Denise was underage at the time, and Marvin kept it a secret for many years. He never openly said he was the father of Marvin III, but the revelation caused a lot of controversy. Despite all these problems, Marvin stayed married to Anna for a while. However, their marriage was not easy. Marvin later admitted in an interview that their relationship was filled with love and need, but he felt trapped. He said, "I couldn't be controlled. Not by a wife, not by a manager, not by a record company. I was born a ram and a rebel." In 1975, after 12 years of marriage, Anna filed for divorce. Gaye's private life was far from perfect, filled with tough choices and secrets. In the 1970s, Marvin Gaye, the legendary singer, faced serious money problems. 1 year after his divorce, he found it too expensive to keep paying alimony to his ex-wife, Anna Gordy. He owed her $600,000 and couldn't pay back his taxes. So Marvin filed for bankruptcy. His financial situation quickly got worse. To settle his debt, Marvin agreed to pay Anna the money he owed. The deal was that he would use royalties from his next album to pay her $307,000 up front. The remaining $293,000 would come from royalties on his future albums. Marvin's personal life also took a hit. He married Janice Hunter, a woman much younger than him, and they had 2 children together. But like his first marriage, this one didn't last. By 1979, Marvin and Janice separated. He was left with huge debts, including more alimony payments. Even though his life was in chaos, Marvin found inspiration for a new album. The financial struggles didn't stop him from creating the music that would help pay off his debts. During the making of What's Going On, Marvin was in bad shape mentally. He was still mourning the death of his singing partner, Tammy Terrell, who passed away in 1970 from brain cancer. They had made many hit songs together, including Ain't No Mountain High Enough.
Ain't no mountain high enough. Ain't no mountain.
Marvin Gaye believed he cursed his duet partners. After working with Kim Weston on their hit song It Takes Two, she also left Motown.
It takes two, baby. It takes two.
Then came Oma Hurd, who recorded some songs with Marvin, but most of their music was never released. Despite her experience in the music industry, her time with Motown was short-lived. Marvin's most famous duets came with Tammy Terrell starting in 1966. Together, they made many hit songs. Sadly, Tammy died from a brain tumor in 1970, which deeply affected Marvin. His friend Mel Farr shared that Marvin was very depressed before his big album, What's Going On. He was isolating himself in his home and using more drugs to cope. Marvin was also troubled by the news of the Kent State shootings, where 4 students were killed by the National Guard. The news upset him so much that he couldn't sleep and was always crying. In an interview in 1971, Marvin said he was very unhappy with life. He felt disillusioned and unsure about everything. The loss of Tammy and the world's events took a heavy toll on him. This period in Marvin's life showed how much his personal struggles affected his music and his soul.
And all that.
Because he was on drugs?
He fell out with me because I wouldn't loan him some money to buy some drugs.
Oh, that's what it was over?
Yeah.
Okay.
Drugs played a big role in Marvin's decline. In the 1960s, he experimented with coke, but by the 70s, he was deep into addiction. According to those close to him, Marvin spent his time bouncing between reading scripture and doing coke, a strange routine that hinted at the inner battle he faced. His substance abuse grew worse over the years, and it wasn't just coke. He also experimented with PCP, a drug known for its intense, mind-altering effects. This lifestyle took a toll on Marvin's mental health, and in 1983, he attempted to end his life twice.
Were you noticing the drug use and kind of his decline and so forth around that time?
I was with Marvin damn near every day, man. Yeah, was I noticing it? Yeah.
Marvin's also had money problems, which became overwhelming. He owed the IRS over $1 million in back taxes, the state of California $600,000, and had to pay more than $300,000 in alimony. Struggling to deal with all this, Marvin left the United States and moved to London. He hoped a change of scenery would help, but instead, he got caught up in a wild lifestyle filled with drugs again and partying. Things didn't improve, so he moved again, this time to Belgium. In Belgium, Marvin started to turn his life around. He found a friend and supporter in a Belgian businessman named Freddie Coussart, who helped him focus on his music. While in Belgium, Marvin recorded one of his biggest hits, Sexual Healing, in 1983. The song was a huge success and brought him back into the spotlight. But even with this success, Marvin couldn't escape his financial troubles. His debts still loomed large, and his personal life was far from settled.
And from time to time, I would smoke some with him, you know? So, yeah, we put the cocaine in the weed and smoke it. That's the only way I would smoke it.
The drama didn't stop there for Marvin Gaye. His problems with his record label, Motown, started getting worse. The final issue came when Motown released his album In Our Lifetime without asking for his approval. To make things worse, they changed the title of the album by taking out a question mark. Gaye was upset because he felt this changed the meaning of the album. To him, the question, "Is the world coming to an end in our lifetime?" was the heart of the album. On top of that, Motown made changes to the music on the album. One song, Far Cry, was supposed to be unfinished, but Motown added extra instruments to it. Gaye saw this as Motown ignoring his artistic choices and trying to make the music their own way. He was furious that they released the album, even though he didn't want it out like that. Gaye's relationship with Motown had been falling apart for some time, but this was the final straw that pushed him away for good.
Get up, get up, get up, get up. Let's make love tonight. Wake up.
In 1983, Marvin Gaye made a statement that sounded like a warning. He said that going on tour might end him. He had serious money problems and owed a lot in taxes, so he had no choice but to go on tour to try to make money. In April, he began the Sexual Healing Tour in San Diego. The tour was supposed to fix his financial issues, but it only made things worse. Marvin performed in a red military-style outfit with shiny gold buttons, an outfit that now sits in the Motown Museum. On stage, he looked like a star, but deep inside, he was struggling. His health, both physical and mental, was getting worse. The pressure from the tour was too much for him. As the tour continued, Marvin became more paranoid. He started to believe people were trying to hurt him. He hired bodyguards not just to look good, but because he was scared for his life. At one point, he even had his sister bring him water on stage because he thought someone might poison him. This fear took over his mind, and he became very depressed. Each time he stepped onto the stage in a new city, he thought it could be his last. The stress took a toll on Marvin's body. He collapsed from exhaustion during the tour and had to be taken to the hospital in Florida. Marvin couldn't handle it anymore and decided to stop the tour. He returned to his family home, hoping for peace. But instead of finding calm, he was faced with old family problems that made everything worse. Marvin's worst fears about the tour came true. Instead of helping him, it only made his life harder and pushed him further into despair.
He was a very peculiar habits, such as dressing up in women's clothes and wearing his wife's, nylons and underwear and things like that.
Marvin Gaye's childhood was shaped by his father, Marvin Gaye Sr., a strict Pentecostal preacher. His father ruled the house with tough punishments and strict rules. But his father wasn't just strict, he had many personal struggles. Marvin's sister, Zayola, said their dad secretly wore women's clothes and struggled with alcohol. When he wasn't drinking, he could be kind, but when he drank, he became cold and bitter. Some family members didn't think he was a bad person, but for Marvin, the pain from his childhood was unforgettable.
He's just the type of guy that everybody would say, well, they would have to stop and look. With some certain dress codes or whatever, kids going to look at you and say, well, look at him, why is he wearing this, and why is he doing this? But that's just Mr. Gaye.
When Gaye returned to the family home, his father had taken a business trip to the family's home in Washington, D.C. When the elder Gaye returned to Los Angeles, he and his son continued the antagonistic relationship they had built over the years. Gaye's two sisters eventually moved out of the family house due to the quarrels between the pair. In a 1985 interview, Gaye's sister Jean claimed that her father said multiple times that if his son ever touched him, he would K him.
She answered the phone. She said, hello. And I said, hello. And she said, oh, baby, it's you. So she recognized my voice. She said, yeah, I know why you call me, and it's true. She said, his father shot him.
The life of Marvin Gaye, Jane Gaye told author David Ritz that there was no doubt Marvin wanted to die. While in 1983, Gaye gave his father a .38 special pistol to protect himself from potential intruders. A verbal argument broke out between Marvin Sr. and Gaye's mother, Alberta, on April 1st. Gaye attempted to mediate, but largely defended his mother. When Marvin Sr. began shouting in Alberta's face, Gaye shoved his father down and began physically attacking him. Marvin hit him. I shouted for him to stop, but he paid no attention to me, Alberta later told Ritz. He gave my husband some hard kicks.
After what happened, his father told him what it was, that I had known about his relationship with his father.
A few minutes later, Marvin Sr. fulfilled the threat that he had previously made. Returning with the same gun that his son had bought him a few months earlier, Marvin Sr. shot Gaye twice in the chest. Gaye's brother Frankie and his wife Irene heard the gunshots from the guest house on the property. As Frankie tended to his brother, he heard what he alleged to be Marvin's final words. "I got what I wanted. I couldn't do it myself, so I had him do it," Frankie claimed in his book Marvin Gaye, My Brother. "It's good. I ran my race. There's no more left in me." From his final words, Frankie and some of the other Gaye family members believed that Marvin had provoked his father and decay him as a form of suicide. He put himself out of his misery. He brought relief to Mother by finally getting her husband out of her life, Jean Gaye said in Divided Soul. And he punished Father by making certain that the rest of his life would be miserable. My brother knew just what he was doing. When Marvin Gaye died, he didn't leave much money or property behind. His most valuable asset was his intellectual property. This includes things like his song royalties, his life story, and his image rights. Marvin did leave a will, but California law made sure his 3 children would split his estate equally. However, before they could get anything, his debts and taxes had to be paid. The people managing Marvin's estate worked very hard to clear his debts. They used smart ideas to market his music rights and bring in money. Over time, they not only paid off the debts, but also built up millions of dollars in assets. Because of this, Marvin's kids are still able to benefit from his legacy today. One big moment for the Gaye family came in 2013. Robin Thicke, Pharrell Williams, and T.I. released the hit song Blurred Lines. Marvin's family believed this song copied his 1977 hit, Got to Give It Up. The singers behind Blurred Lines took the case to court, asking a judge to confirm they hadn't stolen anything. Marvin's family didn't agree and fought back. They believed the song violated Marvin's copyrights. This case was not easy. Marvin's children had the rights to his songwriting, but not to the performance itself. That meant the actual recording of Got to Give It Up couldn't be played in court. Instead, the case relied on experts in sheet music to compare both songs. In 2015, the jury decided in favor of Marvin's family. They were awarded $7.4 million, which was later upheld on appeal. However, this amount did not include the extra money made from tours that featured Blurred Lines. Despite these challenges, Marvin Gaye's children have done well. The managers of his estate worked hard to keep Marvin's music alive and profitable. While Marvin could have planned things better to pass his music rights fully to his kids, his family has still found a way to honor his memory. Today, his legacy continues to grow, and his children benefit from the success he left behind.
You're a regular hero. Allowed to put you in a movie.
Marvin Gaye wasn't just a great singer. He also gave acting a shot. Back in the late 1960s and early 1970s, when his music career was really taking off, Marvin decided to try something new. He acted in 2 movies, The Ballad of Andy Crocker and Chrome and Hot Leather. Both films were about the Vietnam War, which was a big deal in America at the time. In The Ballad of Andy Crocker, Marvin played a soldier who had returned home from Vietnam. The movie showed how hard life was for veterans after the war. Many soldiers found it difficult to return to normal life, and this film talked about their struggles. Marvin's role helped share the pain and confusion these men felt. The second movie, Chrome and Hot Leather, had a different story. It was about a group of Green Beret soldiers who wanted to take revenge on a biker gang. The film was a mix of action and drama, which gave Marvin a chance to show a different side of himself. Even though these movies didn't become very popular, they were still important to Marvin. He had a dream of becoming a big movie star like Frank Sinatra. Sinatra was not only a famous singer, but also a successful actor. Marvin believed he could do both too. He had the looks, the voice, and the charm to make it in Hollywood. Some people thought Marvin could have become a movie star if he kept trying. While Marvin was focused on his music and acting, he also made a small but important change to his name. Born Marvin Gaye Jr., he later added an E at the end, becoming Marvin Gaye. Why? There are a few stories. Some say his record company added the E when his first single came out. But most people believe Marvin made this choice himself. Marvin had a complicated relationship with his father, Marvin Gaye Sr. He felt uncomfortable sharing the same name, especially since his father's behavior was confusing to him. People also teased him about his last name, asking, "Is Marvin Gaye?" This made Marvin feel even worse. To escape the jokes and his father's shadow, Marvin decided to add the E to his name. Marvin changed music forever. In his book, Mercy, Mercy Me, The Art, Loves and Demons of Marvin Gaye, writer Michael Eric Dyson said Marvin mixed music styles in a way no one else had done before. He brought together rhythm and blues, gospel and pop. This made him stand out and left a lasting mark on music. After Marvin passed away, the New York Times said he was a major influence in pop music. He made soul music richer by blending it with gospel sounds and jazz styles. In the 1960s and 1970s, Marvin worked with Motown Records. His songs became a big part of Motown's success. People began to call him the Prince of Soul and the Prince of Motown because of how much he helped shape the label's sound. He also showed how black music was growing, from simple rhythm and blues to deeper, more meaningful soul songs. What made Marvin special was that he stepped away from Motown's usual way of making songs. This allowed other artists, like Stevie Wonder, to do the same and explore new ideas. Marvin Gaye's music helped create the future of R&B music. His sound inspired new styles like Quiet Storm and neo-soul. Many famous artists, like Barry White, have said they were influenced by Marvin's songs. His style even showed up in movies, like in Dreamgirls, where Eddie Murphy dressed like Marvin from the 1970s. Today, Marvin Gaye's name still comes up in music and movies. His songs and style continue to inspire people all over the world. Marvin Gaye may be gone, but his music will live on forever.